Okay, guys, I got another tip for you this week. Um, I'm sure if anybody's into any, particularly production tying, but any kind of tying, really, if it's just for yourself, even, um, you certainly notice if you've been at this for a while, the quantity of different threads that's out there on the market now is just sort of, you know, it's overwhelming, to be quite honest. And the selection that you have compared to what you could get years ago, maybe when you started, or so definitely when I started, which is a long time ago. But with the increased selection comes some great advances in threads, particularly in terms of your selection on diameters and breaking strengths and applications depending on the flies that you're tying. It's just a myriad of different types of threads you can get, and then the colors. There's endless amounts of colors. And I've tried a lot of them, not all of them, obviously, but I've tried quite a few of them, and many of you, no doubt, are probably used to names like Unithread. It seems to be quite common here on the island for salmon flies. Some people use UTC threads as well, which certainly is very popular, and I've used for years and still use in certain applications. Particularly for a lot of my streamer patterns and things, been UTC 140 or UTC 70, depending. And, that being said, I've used UTC 70 as a base thread for almost all my salmon flies for the last number of years. That being said, I've recently switched, and my site will reflect that. I still will carry, and I've got some more stock coming in on just the basic threads, but in very limited colors. I find this, blacks and whites and a few others are probably all you need, really. So I will have some UTC, particularly in 140, because again, I use that still. But the one that I want to talk about today a little bit, just for a minute or so, is the Semperfli line of threads, particularly their GSP threads. So maybe not a lot of you are familiar with the gel spun threads, GSP, as the acronym says. But I've used it quite a bit. Not so much on the Semperfli products, but for the Vivus lines of GSPs, particularly for spinning large amounts of hair for some of my deer hair flies and big sculpins and things like that. And then on my big streamers as well, particularly in the tandem patterns. I've used some GSP, although typically I've used the UTC threads for that. So where I wanted to kind of have a couple of minutes just talking about is on the UTC Nano threads, they're called. And again, I don't know if you can see this. It's a nano thread. They come in two different thicknesses, I guess you call it. There's a 50 denier and 100. Now, I've always used the 50, although I am going to get some 100, and I'll explain that in a second. The 50 denier threads, it really, in relation to strength per size, is incredible, to be honest. It's very difficult to break that, which is really great when you're starting out and you're trying to get used to thread tensions and what you can apply and what you can't, and then causing a lot of frustration and a lot of choice words. But on the 50 denier particularly, I've used it for a lot of all my really salmon flies, to be honest, as the base thread. So I use white as the base thread to tie the fly, and then finish off with black. Now, you can use a black marker too and finish it off that way, but that's typically the way I've been doing it. And just to give you an idea, I think I have a bobbin here with some. This one's got the 50 denier Semperfli in it. I'll take out this fly here. This is a big sculpin, or not a sculpin, it's a zonker pattern, which I'm doing the video up on soon, so you'll see that up on the site pretty soon. I'll just throw just a general hook in here, just to give you an idea. So with the GSP thread, what I like about it is it lays perfectly flat. I mean, it doesn't build up at all. It's strong as hell. You can haul down on this. You can tell it's almost slipping through the thread. It's not gonna break actually. Let's just try it more. I'm pulling on. It's actually bending. It's actually bending the hook, and I'm still not breaking it. It says it's a 4 pound breaking strength. And again, it's just incredible. So, from strength wise, when it comes to tying and not constantly breaking your thread, you're not going to find any better. It's a little more pricier than a regular thread, but hey, it's not a whole lot. And plus, with these Semperfli threads, you do get more on a bobbin, or more on a spool, I should say. So your value is sort of your value is there in terms of the amount of thread that you do get. I've used this, like I said, I've used it in applications that are not typical for some of these big, these big streamer flies and stuff. I use a lot. I use it to really lash down a lot of material, because I can really, really put some effort behind in terms of in terms of what I can apply for pressure wise, so I get these materials down. And if you want them, this stuff lays really flat. A couple of things with it. You can certainly you can spin your bobbin counterclockwise if you wanted sort of more of a rope effect, depending. Although I can't imagine probably application why you would want that in this type of thread. If you want that type of thread where you got more of a rounded profile, go to a uni thread or something similar to that, or even a Vivas. Vivas is sort of halfway between a uni thread, say, and a UTC, in my opinion. And I've used Vivas for a long time too, and I do like that thread for finishing off heads. But going forward, I'm going to be trying to, I'm going to be switching over to this one primarily. That's my plan anyway, or at least this one on the base thread is going to be sort of my thread of choice. What else? There is a wax you can get for this GSP thread. I don't have any in stock right now, but I will. And, because it is a bit slippery, GSP, anybody who's used it, one of the drawbacks to it, I guess, is it can be fairly slippery, so you can apply a little bit of wax to give it that little bit of tackiness if you're worried about that. Lots of times, if I'm finishing off with GSP, I'll drop a little bit of Zap-A-Gap or some kind of a super glue on it as well, just to, especially if I'm tying in any kind of hair wings, anything that's naturally slippery. I'll reinforce it with a super glue as well. So anyway, that's the tip for this week. A bit long-winded, but I just wanted to kind of introduce that to you as an alternative for some of your threads. If you're wondering, if you've never tried it before and you're wondering what it's all about, then give it a shot. I got, like I said, I got the 50 denier in stock now. The 100 denier should be here in a couple of weeks or so. That's typically for larger flies, so that would be something. Some of the larger streamers and things. That's what I'm thinking. So I haven't really tested that one out too much, but where I see it applied is some of the larger streamers where I'm using a UTC thread now. Also, our UTC 140 thread now. Also, what they say, what they propose is that the 100 denier thread's a great spinning thread. Now, I've used GSP threads for spinning, and it's great. Their brands. So as soon as I get this in, I'm going to give it a shot. And I have no doubt that it'll be probably a switch for me to go to the 100 denier for spinning large amounts of deer hair. And I'll give that a try with some of the larger bombers and things, and particularly on some of the larger scoping patterns that I tie, where I'm tying in a lot of hair all at one time, which can be a real challenge for some of the sort of regular threads. And that's where I've found that GSP really comes in handy. You can't break that stuff, right? I haven't seen it break. I haven't broken it anyway. So anyway, that's it for now. So 50 denier, nano thread. That's the key thing. Nano thread in Semperfli. So give it a shot. Thanks.